Well, thanks for joining us on BloombergQuint. So how does Spotify aim to disrupt the India's crowded music streaming market and also create its own space, despite being a late entrant to India's music streaming party? To talk more about Spotify India's growth plan, its journey so far, and more, joining me is Amarjit Singh Batra. He's a Managing Director for Spotify India. Amarjit, thank you so much for your time and joining us today. Let's start by asking you about how has been the journey so far and how are you looking at Indian market?
The way we are looking at India is a long-term market. In Spotify being a tech company in a way, we think product. We think about how do we solve experience problems for our customers who are on the platform, who are going to be on the platform, who are streaming, who are not yet streaming. So it's a thought process which encompasses a lot of stuff around how we are creating a platform for everybody. Because we believe music is for everyone. Coming into India, we have thought about how do we look at Spotify is for India, and there we already initiated certain areas of focus in the initial stages where we have innovated or at least customized for India. But going forward, we'll be doing a lot of that as we go along because this is a continuous journey. So what we have done now in the last few months or so is as we launched, we actually brought a localized experience on language onboarding. In India, there are so many languages. How do we cater to a user who basically is able to get content in their language only? If they don't want any other language, they don't get that. So how do we onboard them? That actually proved very well. And today there are people who are listening to Tamil music or maybe Telugu or Punjabi and so on, and their own languages, and they're getting relevant content recommended to them based on their own language onboarding process. What we have gone further is to also curate in those languages, and there we have a team which sits locally here, which curates in different languages. So we have more than 250 playlists that we have made from in different languages, and some of them are really doing well in different, like Punjabi 101, in Bollywood Cream, Tollywood Pearls. So many such playlists. In fact, we just launched a playlist called Early Noise, which is about the music which is just breaking out. So these kind of localization and on product and curation we are doing. I think one of the things which I'm excited personally about is how we are catering to India as a market where a lot of people are still not today on the best smartphones or 3G or 4G connections. They are on 2G. They don't have memory on the devices. So there we have launched Spotify Lite for them, which is very well liked by people. It is growing fast. We are also looking at what further we can do and reach out to more and more users who are not yet on streaming, who are not yet really experiencing the best way to listen to music and podcast. So those are few areas that we have invested behind in the beginning stages. And we are a company which is continuously learning. So we are finding out and listening to our audiences on the platform, off the platform. And I think in the next months and years that you go by, you will see that we will go behind and make more localizations and more investments in product.
I still had to launch, without the catalogs of Warner Music, and later also you had to let go of Saregama. How much of that how much of the impact has that on Spotify India's India plans?
I think what is the beauty about where people listen to today, they are not listening to one or two songs or such. People are listening to playlist, and there is something that we have brought from global, and we have seen that actually happening in India now, is we have a 3 billion playlist which are created by users, created by algorithms, created by editors, and those playlists are what people are listening to, and the time people are spending on our platform is actually in I estimate much higher than anybody else in the country.
Right. So essentially their absence hasn't really dented your plans for the Indian market and also the growth expectations you are having.
We are seeing significantly higher traction as close to in many of our global counterparts, and there is a challenge which I think the market needs to solve, and what Spotify is focusing on, making sure that we have all the amount of content that is available there, but ensuring that people are able to discover music.
But how do you aim to solve the problem of getting people to listen more and more music on the platform?
I think the job that is needed to be done is to first ensure that are we understanding our consumers well. I think are they being served content that they want to listen to, or are we serving them one size fits all approach? So I think that is an area where we are focusing on. If you look at Spotify homepage today for everybody, so there is every user would have their own homepage and would be based on what they listen to, and we use machine learning and artificial intelligence to help people recommend better choices, what songs they listen to. We are able to kind of pick up references and songs recommendations based on that. And on top of that, we are also looking at helping them with playlist, which is helping with similar songs. So there are things like something like an artist radio. So if you go down to looking at particular artists, you can go down to an artist radio inside the app where you can actually listen to songs which are similar but they are from other artists. So that's how you enhance the experience for a user to be able to listen more, discover more music. What we're also focusing on globally, and in India also we'll do that, is podcast. Podcast we have seen globally is that people, the more they listen to podcast, the more they listen to music. So in a way, Spotify is globally now becoming a destination, and we are for music and podcast. And being an audio first platform today, I see that's a big area for us to help grow consumer preferences and also get people to listen more on the app.
Well, India is the next big music streaming market. More than half a billion people are online, yet less than 1% of the people are paying really for any form of streaming platforms. How difficult is it really to get Indians pay?
Paying as a habit, because I think as Spotify did globally 10 years back, when we came in the market in Sweden and launched this model, there was a huge piracy in Sweden, and I think to some extent India has a similar situation right now. So if you go back to that time, I think we made people move to premium via getting them to free first. It's a step jump towards making people to pay. And today we have 108 million people who pay for Spotify globally, 232 million people who are already using Spotify, 17 billion hours of content has been consumed, music has been consumed so far. So I think there's a traction which develops over time. In India, this might be 1.5% today, but I think as you can see from the video OTT space also, as we go into develop more listening habits, more habits to stick to a platform, people will end up paying in this market.
And lastly, Amajit, where does India fit in Spotify's global order, and what kind of plans you have in the next 1 or 2 years for the Indian market?
I think the focus here is to ensure that we build for the long term, and I think we are focusing on building the foundation, and we have global support. One of the big things that Spotify has done is to basically empower a local team here. Everybody who's working in India understand India very well. We have even a product team which is supporting us in Stockholm, which are a lot of Indians in them. So I think we are overall committed to India for long term. We are thinking India from India perspective by people who have been in the space in India, build businesses, being from the industry. So in a way, I think it's a collaborative effort, which is one of our core values at Spotify. And we have 4,000 people, now 4,800 plus people focusing on making Spotify the best place for music and podcast. And I hope India will be able to live up to its potential the way we are looking to build India.
We'll leave it at that, Amajit. Thank you so much for your time and joining us on BloombergQuint.